Hello there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Anyway, today I'm coming to you with a slightly overdue video because every time I've done this video, it's been late, so of course I gotta keep with tradition and be late to the party as always. But today we're doing the mid-year book freakout tag, of course. Middle of the year has been and gone. I was away when it was the middle of the year, so like that's part of the problem, but also I just haven't been posting because I was in a reading slump and just haven't really been making the time to film. So yeah, excuses, but we are here today to do the mid-year book freakout tag. I think I've done this tag every year since 2016. I think I'll link all of my previous ones down below in case you're interested, but like 0 out of 10 would not recommend watching the older ones because they're so cringy. But if you want to know how I was feeling about books back then, you can watch them. You probably know what this is already. If you don't know, it's basically just a bunch of questions to reflect on your reading halfway through the year. But let's get into it. So, question number 1 is the best book you've read so far this year. So this one was like the easiest answer for me because I honestly have been having kind of a garbage reading year. I think I've had like 1 5-star. I've had a couple 5-stars which were rereads, but yeah, literally just 1 brand new 5-star, and that was the one and the only How Stella Learned to Talk by Christina Hunger, a nonfiction book because I'm a nonfiction girly now. Anyway, I read this book in March and this book still lives in my head rent-free because I just loved it so much. If you don't know what this book is about, it's basically about Christina Hunger teaching her dog how to talk, which to me is just like the most amazing thing ever, and it's like beautiful and makes me emotional and I love it so much. Just that very concept of giving your dog this ability to communicate with you, it just warms my heart. You may have seen stuff about this on Instagram or TikTok, wherever. I don't have TikTok. I don't know. I don't know the TikTok trends, but basically there's like a word board with buttons and Stella, the dog, can like press them and communicate with Christina, and it's all about her kind of methodology behind this and how she even like got that potential idea to do this and how it all worked, and I just love it with all of my heart. This is gonna sound really dramatic, but it's honestly changed my life a little bit because Christina Hunger is a speech and language pathologist, and now that's actually something that I'm like considering for myself for a career. I'm like, what do I have to do to become a speech and language pathologist or like therapist? And I'm actually looking into it because honestly, it sounds freaking awesome to me. I did linguistics at university with my Spanish degree, and I have always loved linguistics, so yeah, it's something that's super interesting to me, and this book has opened my eyes to that career path, so I'm forever going to be grateful to this book and love it. I really need to buy it because it's one of my faves and I don't even own it yet because I borrowed it from the library. If you're at all interested in linguistics, please pick it up. But also like give me some fiction recs because I haven't had a single 5-star in fiction yet. So yeah, I would appreciate it. The next question is the best sequel you've read so far this year. And honestly, I have not read very many sequels. I've read some, but they've been rereads. I don't really like to mention rereads in this tag. I prefer to just talk about new things. So the only new sequel that I've read this year that I actually really enjoyed was Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. This is the 3rd book in the Diviners series. I was gonna say trilogy, but it's not a trilogy, it's a series. This is the 3rd book in the Diviners trilogy. Oh my god. This is the 3rd book in the Diviners series. There we go. Which basically follows this group of people called diviners who are basically people with special powers. And the 1st book really focuses on our main character, Evie, who has the ability to read objects. So like if she picks up your handkerchief, she can see what happened to you when you had that handkerchief. Like she can see your like memories or whatever. Anyway, and it's a little bit spooky. There's some paranormal aspects, and there's been this like plot running through all of the books, but in the first 2 books it was more of a subplot, and in this one it really became like the main focus. So I'm really enjoying that, and I'm really excited to see how the last one goes. It's just taken me such a long time to get to this series because I only have the audiobooks, and until like the last month I hadn't really been listening to audiobooks, but now I've discovered that I can listen to them while I'm at work, while I'm like cleaning and stuff before we have any customers. So yeah, I've now started listening to audiobooks a lot. So yeah, I'll definitely be reading King of Crows at some point soon, which is the 4th and final book. But yeah, this one was really good. I gave it like 4 stars, I think, just because it took me like 2 years to read it, but I did really enjoy it in the end. The next question is favorite reread, and I don't actually remember this being in the tag before. I think this is something that someone has added, but anyway, I'm gonna answer it. And my favorite reread is probably gonna be Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Lady Taylor. Not because this is like the favorite of the books that I've actually reread this year, but because like this was just such a surprise to me. I guess I should have put this in biggest surprise, but whatever. I did really enjoy rereading this one. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because the first time I read this, I listened to the audiobook and I listened to it while I was in my car, and I didn't have a good sound system, so like I feel like I probably didn't hear it that well, to be honest. And I like enjoyed it, but I wasn't in love with it. But actually physically reading this book was a wonderful time. Like, Lady Taylor has such a beautiful writing style, so like you really are doing her books a disservice if you listen to the audiobook. Like, I feel like you need to read it physically and really absorb it. Although I will say, whilst this was probably my favorite rereading experience, I then tried to reread the sequel, Days of Blood and Starlight, Days of Blood and Starlight, and I DNF'd it. I just couldn't get through it. So whilst I really enjoyed this one, I am not going to finish the series, which is a shame. So yeah, I did love this, but I didn't love the rest of the series, so yeah. The next question is genre you've been loving / reading the most, which again I think is a question that I haven't answered before in this tag. I actually have an equal number of 2 genres. So one genre that I've been reading a lot of is fantasy, although I have to say, like, I don't feel like any of it is high fantasy. It's all like young adults, urban fantasy pretty much. So I feel like I really need to sink my teeth into something like a nice chunky high fantasy, which I'm literally looking at some right now and we'll talk about them in a minute. But yeah, I foresee some like high fantasy in my future. Anyway, and the other one is nonfiction, which isn't really a genre. It's more of like a classification, and there are like loads of genres within nonfiction. But the way that I categorize things, I just put nonfiction as a genre itself. Otherwise my spreadsheet would become way too complicated for my tiny little brain. So yeah, I just put nonfiction as a genre, even though it's not. It's a category, but whatever. So those are the 2 genres that I've read the most of this year. The next question is new release you haven't read yet but want to. So I have a bunch. Are you surprised? Not me. I am indecisive. So the first one is one that I'm super excited for, and I actually am on the wait list at my library for it, so hopefully I get it soon. But that is The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn. Kate Quinn wrote my favorite book of last year, which was, of course, The Rose Code, my pride and joy. I just bought it actually, and it's so beautiful, and I want to reread it because I love it so much. I really want to reread The Rose Code, but I will satisfy that craving by reading The Diamond Eye as soon as my hold comes through, which I cannot wait for. I don't remember what this one is about, but Kate Quinn is the queen of historical fiction. Well, I mean, I say that. I didn't even like the Alice Network very much, but The Rose Code is like, that's the book that lives in my heart. That when I think Kate Quinn, I don't even think of the Alice Network because that was trash in comparison to The Rose Code. So yeah. Anyway, whatever. I also still need to read the Steminist novellas by Ali Hazelwood, which are Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero. So I really want to get to those ones because also they're novellas, so they're just gonna be like a fun, quick, steamy read, and I feel like I need that in my life. So yeah, definitely want to read those. And then another one is I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. She is another historical fiction author, and I read The Fountains of Silence and Salt to the Sea, both by her as well, and I loved both of those books, so I don't even need to know what this one's about. I just know that I want to read it at some point. Then I have a book called Woman of Light, which I can't remember the author, but again, this is historical fiction, and I think it sounds really freaking cool. Can I remember the synopsis right this second? No, but I was literally reading it yesterday and it sounded really good, so I'm gonna just link that. I'm gonna link all of the books I talk about in the description, and it's gonna take me 10 years to write out the description, but that's fine. I'll do it for you. And then of course, Lessons in Chemistry. Can't remember the author, but this book is super popular right now and I think it sounds good. It's also historical fiction. There's a theme here, so yeah, I want to read that also. And the next question is another one where I'm not going to be able to tell you what any of the books are about, but it is most anticipated release for the rest of the year. And I actually didn't think I had any. And then I went on to Goodreads and I was like, oh, I do have some. So we have Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, which actually my friend Evie already read because she got an arc of it. Anyway, she got an arc and she said that this is pretty similar to The Love Hypothesis. I mean, I'm gonna love it. Even if it's similar, like, I'm gonna have a fun time. So I'm really excited for that one. Even if it is just like a carbon copy of the first one that she wrote, but it's fine. I'm gonna have a good time. And then I'm also looking forward to Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid because I just read Malibu Rising and I really enjoyed it, so yeah, I think I'm gonna like it, although I recently heard some not great reviews of it, so we'll see. We're gonna see how that one goes. And then my last one is Gleanings by Neil Shusterman. This is like a short story collection to go along with the Arc of a Scythe trilogy, and you already know how I feel about that trilogy. Like, it's honestly, they're some of my favorite books of all time. So, of course, I want to read this. The next question is biggest disappointment, and I have a bunch, of course. So we're just gonna go through them quickly. First one is The Starless Sea. This was my first DNF of the year, and this one was disappointing because I bought it like ages ago and I was super excited to read it. It has such a beautiful cover, but I ended up like reading 100 pages, I think, and then giving it to my friend because I just was not interested in it. And then we have It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I was actually rewatching my mid-year book freakout tag from last year, and in that video I mentioned that this was like my most anticipated release for the rest of the year. And then I read it and I literally hated it. I gave it 2 stars. The sex scenes were the cringiest things I've ever read, and it was just garbage. So I don't like this book and I'm so sad about it. Then another book that I DNF'd was An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, which had obviously been on my radar for a really long time, and then I tried to read it and it was literal flaming garbage, so I DNF'd it. So that's another one that was disappointing because I was looking forward to it and I hated it. It Happened One Summer and An Absolutely Remarkable Thing are probably the only books this year that I've actually like hated. My biggest surprise, I actually already talked about it by accident. My biggest surprise was Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Lady Taylor, because honestly, the first time I read it, like I said, I enjoyed it, but it was nothing amazing. And then when I reread it, I had such a good time with it. So yeah, this was my biggest surprise because I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. And then sadly, the rest of the series is not for me, but it's fine. It's fine. The next question is favorite new author. And for this one, I kind of had to cheat because I did actually read one of her books last year, but it was in December, so I haven't mentioned her in this tag before. So yeah, and I also haven't finished reading the book that I'm reading by her yet, but it's got to be Amanda Montell, who wrote Cultish, which I read in December, and Word Slut, which I'm currently reading and loving. I've got tabs. I love linguistics. Like, language and gender is such an interesting topic to me. I've done it so many times at school, but I still love it because you can always learn more, and it's like she mentions in the book, like, it's something that's still changing. So yeah, it's so interesting and I love it. So yeah, she is so funny as well. Like, if you hear me talking about these linguistics books and you're like, oh, that just sounds like it would be really boring, like, it's not. She has a way of making it so interesting, especially Cultish. Like, don't get me wrong, I love this one too, but like, I'm not finished. But like, Cultish, like, it's also got cults. Like, it's a solid read even if you're not a huge linguistics nerd. A little bit of a cheat, but there you go. The next question is your newest favorite character, and for that one I'm gonna go for Nina Riva from Malibu Rising. I just read this book in June, and well, actually I finished in July, but whatever. I love all of the characters, not gonna lie. Like, Taylor Jenkins Reid, her character work is flawless. Like, all of her characters are so like realistic, like they feel like real people. I want to like Google them and find out about their lives because I feel like they were real people, but they're not. Anyway, I love Nina. I love the whole Riva clan, apart from Mick Riva, obviously. Trash. But everyone else, just like, I loved reading about them. I love them. So yeah, but definitely Nina is like my favorite. So yeah. Next question, book that made you cry. I don't think I have cried in a single book this year. I did cry in a book to movie adaptation, or a book to TV show adaptation. The Summer I Turned Pretty. It surprised me. I was not expecting to cry because the whole time watching it, I was like, why am I watching this? Like, this is fine, but nothing mind-blowing. And then it got to a certain episode and something was revealed the audience already knew, but the characters didn't know, and I cried. So yeah, that was embarrassing. To be fair, I was already really emotional when I was watching it, so that's probably part of the reason. But yeah, I did cry when I was watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. So that's the closest answer I can give you. The next question is a book that made you happy, and I have 2 answers. The first one is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I just had such a fun time rereading this book. It had been such a long time since I'd read it. I loved being back with these characters and like just fully their story, because they pop up in some of the other books in the whole Shadowhunter universe, but to actually like be just with these characters, it was a great time and it made me super happy. And then also though, another one that made me happy was How Stella Learned to Talk. I already talked about how much of an impact that book had on me, and I just loved reading about it. I love dogs. I love all animals, to be honest, but like I really want a dog and I just loved reading about the bond between Stella and Christina. It was beautiful and it made me really happy. So yeah. Anyway, that one. Oh no, my camera's running low on battery. The next question is the most beautiful book you've bought. And I can just show you all of the books I've bought so far this year. I'm gonna do a proper haul at some point, but I've only bought 4 books and they all have amazing covers. So we have Breakable Things by Katie Wismer, just a really short, pretty poetry collection. The Rose Code, not the best cover, but I prefer this cover to the hardcover, which is why I was waiting for the paperback. But I mean, still pretty great. Love it. Word Slut is simple but amazing. And then Malibu Rising is probably actually the most beautiful cover because like it's just like the colors. I love it. Anyway, so that's that. We're running out of time. Oh my god. Last question. Books that you need to read by the end of the year. So one of my goals for the year was to get my physical TBR down to 0. So we have my entire physical TBR that I need to read, which we'll go through in a second. But I also have 4 other books. First one is Jade City by Fonda Lee. I just want to be part of the club. I want to know. Everyone says that Jade Legacy is like just tears at the end, and I want that. So yeah, I really want to read that. Beach Read by Emily Henry. Still haven't read it. I don't know who I am. The Diamond Eye by Kate Quinn. Already mentioned it. King of Crows. I might as well just finish the series finally. Anyway, and then we have my owned TBR. Okay, well, Opposite of Always, which I'm already reading. Word Slut, which I'm also currently reading. And then we have Great Expectations, Emma by Jane Austen, Down and Out in London and Paris, and 1984, both by George Orwell. So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo. Then we've got Frostblood by Ellie Blake. The whole Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. And last but not least, we have The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. That's my whole physical TBR, and that's what I need to read by the end of the year to complete my goal of having no books left on my TBR at the end of the year. So we'll see how I do. But anyway, like I said, my camera is dying. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. Please tell me what your favorite book of the year was down below. I would love to know, and what books you're anticipating because I want to know and look forward to some really good reads. Oh, and if you made it all the way to the end, leave me a dog emoji for Stella. But yeah, I need to go. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you very soon with another video.